I'm David the Good, and today I'm going to share 4 ways to get your compost pile hot and kicking. Your compost may just need a good stirring. Once you've layered everything together and thrown it in a big pile, getting some air and mixing the ingredients up again can bring back that spark, that kick, and get the compost pile hot again. It will turn the nutrients around each other, put some oxygen back into the center, and it'll get running. Now, if you've already tried that, let's take a look at method number 2. People don't realize it, but composting takes a lot of water. Often compost piles simply sit because they're not wet enough. If they get nice and wet, well, bacteria and fungi need water too, right? They get in there, they get what they need, they have a nice drink, and they get back to work. If you were expected to work under hot conditions without a drink, you'd probably give up too. So turn your pile first, and when you're turning it, feel a little dry, give it a good soaking. Just wet it down as you go. And this is why when I make compost piles, I soak each layer as I go. Just keep putting water in there. You'd be surprised how much water a compost pile will drink. You'll often see these things online about, oh, make sure it doesn't get all wet and sloppy, protect it. Well, that's fine if you're in the rainy season, or if it's the spring and you're getting tons of rain coming down from the sky or whatever else. Yes, you could get too wet, it could cool it off, it could be too much water, but a lot of times it's just not enough water. If it's not heating up, you might just need a good drink. Now, method number 3 is pretty simple. Get some grass clippings. If your pile is comprised of too much carbon, which is pretty common, you pile a bunch of leaves up, it just kind of sits there. Things don't necessarily happen. Dry fall leaves are considered a brown. They're high in carbon. They will rot down eventually, and you don't have to worry about it. I mean, you can stick it in the corner of your yard and let it go for a year or two. But if you want it to heat up and get kicking, get a bag for your lawnmower and start gathering it up. If you've ever left a pile of grass out in the yard, you've probably noticed that it gets really hot. It starts turning white on the inside and it steams. They can get so hot that it'll burn your hand to stick your hand in it. It's very uncomfortable. That's because there's a ton of nitrogen in there and it just wants to kick. The bacteria are going crazy. They're called thermophilic bacteria, that is bacteria that love the heat, and they create the heat of their activity. They start going and going and going. So maybe you've got a pile of leaves and you're like, this is just not composting. Well, tear it apart, go out and mow your lawn, and then bag up those grass clippings and layer it in. I hate the mulching mowers. I want a bagger every day because grass clippings are a powerful compost activator. Your 4th method for getting a compost pile kicking, and probably the scariest, at least in this video, is to pour urine on it. Urine is loaded with nitrogen. People, they say, well, if you put urine on something, you're going to kill it. The dog got into the landscaping and it leaves burn spots. Well, yes, that's true, but that's because there's too much nitrogen in it. Just as if you dumped a pile of fertilizer in a corner of your lawn, you'll just make a burn spot. It's going to die right there because it's too much nitrogen. But in a compost pile, when you have a bunch of leaves and kitchen scraps and whatever else in there, man, you just take some urine and pour it on there, save yourself some, and throw it in there, or, well, let's just not talk about it. But anyhow, urine is very good for activating a compost pile. It's not an urban legend. It really does work, and it works fantastically. So there are 4 quick tips to getting a compost pile kicking that just isn't doing it for you. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my book, Compost Everything, The Good Guide to Extreme Composting, and catch me on the web at thesurvivalgardener.com. And until next time, may your thumbs always be green.